check out the Patreon and gain access to all the source code. Hey, welcome to this new video, and this is part 3 of the Paragon System video series. So let's just get right back into it. So inside your Paragon System _ core, so this is the client version, we now just make a bunch of new lines here, so we can get started on writing the code. So first off, we now wanna add some things, some other new tables, subtables. So we will like split up, since we also have the Paragon UI part. We will split up so we have all of our Paragon, all of the UI inside another subtable, which would be Paragon System.UI and then the different UI elements. So let's start with doing that and predefining the tables over here. So we also like that helps us having like a visual part instead of going into different functions and finding where did we set that and did we spell something wrong. So Paragon.UI and equals to code brackets. And sorry if I mess up, I'm on a new keyboard since last video, so I gotta like get used to this keyboard. So Paragon System.UI again, .frames. This is where we will keep all the frames for like the UI and the menu and everything, but I will go in more in detail when we get to those. So Paragon.UI.buttons equals code brackets again. You don't need the thing here at the back. It's just because I'm so used to programming C# where you need to always edit your lines that way. So Paragon.UI, Paragon System.UI buttons tap buttons, just so we have for the tap buttons in here, and Paragon System.UI tap windows, and yeah, and Paragon.UI.text objects equals, and so now we have everything for the UI side, like, or most of it. Sorry, I should say most of it. Now let's make this part where we are actually define some data and such. But that would be Paragon.data.tabs. So, or not tabs, sorry, Paragon.data equals, that's a new table, log it, close it, and Paragon System.data.tab menu buttons. This will be where we have our buttons. Now go down a few lines. I always like to have a space or a line between each, an empty line between each new part of it. So Paragon System.data.tabs now. And for now, this will just be an empty table again, just while we work here. And then what would we need otherwise? Paragon.system.config. Yeah, we will want a config file here. Just make this open so we can always write in it. And then below Paragon System.state equals empty. So let me explain. Here we will keep all the UI parts inside the Paragon System.UI and then the subtables. So that's for the UI. The data is for stuff where we need to define, example, like tab menu buttons, we need to define both a name, icon, the order it should be in, and everything else. So that's what we will keep in here. The tabs is where we will define each of like tabs, like basically the tab you are inside. And it's also where we'll define like all the different upgrades, so strength, agility, and defense. In this tutorial, you will be able to add more by adding in the tabs, and I'll go over how to add more when we get to the end of the series. So yeah, that's what we have there. In the config, what we have in the config is different details, like such as the prefix, if you want to like always have it say Paragon System, and then a message when you debug it. Even the window size we will have in there, the tab button sizes, the offset for each button on the tab, and the tab item size. Items is like the upgrade, so the frame for the upgrade, the box with the upgrade set. So yeah, that's just explaining how everything works. And the states is actually just to hold data. So example, let's say the menu is open or not. That's a boolean, we need true or false, so that will be stored inside the state because it's a dynamic, like it's in use, like it can be changed. Where things in the config, always keep things in the config that can't be changed by the user. So I hope that gives a little more, like, it gives a better insight into why I call things as I do. And again, I'm no programmer, but if you find naming things different helps, do it. I highly recommend you to name things so you understand it and not so others will just understand it. So yeah, we have set this up now, so this is great. Next, let's make a little final little function down here. So I'll just go down some lines here and then forward function and tap to autocomplete. Paragon System, Paragon, if I could spell, Paragon System dot init. All this function is just to keep like everything that should be. So the way Lua works is that it loads everything here. It looks through the files, then it loads. So these are not in a function, so these are created on startup. When we put things in a function, you need to call them to run them. So what we want to do here is just like, we know as soon as the init function, so we will just call the init down here. So now we are calling this function, and this function should just be whatever you want it to do when it's done initializing everything. And just for safety, and so we know that, okay, we can see it in game that the file was loaded correctly. So let's say print, and here let's say like this, Paragon system loaded. So now when we know when it's at the end, that means it loaded everything. So now it just tells us that it's loaded everything, just for ourselves to like follow along with how the program works. So let's just head in game. Let's log out, log in, and you will see Paragon System loaded. That means that the system loaded and everything works. And now you probably saw something else that happened. So you see the Paragon system loaded was called at the very beginning, and the hello from server, which is the call on the server side, to the client was only printed down here. The reason for that is that AIO loaded here, initialized AIO. That means that AIO first loaded here. So, because AIO wasn't loaded at the very beginning of the starting and the player joining, logging in and everything, when it's loaded, it will send the message. So just know that it's totally normal that it's first here and the AIO call or message is here after. I would actually be surprised if your hello from server was above the initialized AIO version. Then maybe there's something wrong. But it works fine. So now that works and we see the message. So let me show you where like a config table here is great for storing things. So we always know that we want to start with this, so we know that is the server, or not server, but that is the Paragon system loading something. So what we want to do is we want to make this so we don't need to write it all. We just need to write one thing. What we can do now is actually, if we want to we know this function will be called also already, it will always be called down here. What we can do is just make it inside our config. So how you do that is just give it a name, Paragon System loaded message. So here we have our Paragon System loaded message. I like to call configs where it's like, the way I do it normally is that things that are always like static, that doesn't change that much, or doesn't change at runtime, I will always call them uppercase area. And where you want a space, it's always an underscore, just so you know my coding style. And if you want to call it lowercase everything, do that. If you feel better and it's easier to understand it, please do so. So let's take this message, because there's no reason we do this printing down here anymore. So we just put it in here. And let's actually give it a color code real quick. So let's give the first part color code. So let me see here. Let's give it a tomato red color. And then to enter color, you do this. That's to enter color. Now let's give the system loaded a green type color. So I do this, and we don't need this part at the end because you are ending the message. So no reason to end the color. So now in our print function, what you want to do now is just write paragon.config.paragon system loaded. And now hit inside, and should note, every time you do changes on the client side in add-ons, you can just write /reload, and the client add-on reloads. As you can now see, is Paragon system loaded, which is our own system loaded function, or variable, being shown and printed on the system loaded. So I think that was all for today. The next time we will get started with actually making the UI and the button up here to open everything. So see you in the next one.